Hi there, Jeremy O'Carroll, founder and director of the Fitzroy Learning Centre here. In this video, what I'd like to do is quickly go over the system and structure of the Fitzroy method. Now, the first thing I want to say is that structure is absolutely critical to any good phonics system. They only work well when there's a very tight system and structure. If there isn't, you're going to have a lot of problems and you won't get nearly as much as you could out of a phonics program. Now, what are some of the typical problems with phonics programs? Well, the main one really is that many of them teach what's now come to be known as incidental phonics. What that means is it's a little bit of phonics, it's a little bit of whole language, a bit of this, a bit of that, and there isn't really any tight structure. And if you teach like that, then children will be a little bit confused, there'll be holes in their knowledge, they'll be missing information, and as a result, they tend to lose confidence and don't learn nearly as effectively as they could. Okay, so if you need system and structure, then how does the Fitzroy method provide this? Well, as we said, it's step by step. And what that means is every little bit in the Fitzroy method builds on the one before. So if you've got reader 20 builds on the first 19 readers. You have to have read those to be able to do reader 20. All the vocab in the Fitzroy method is tightly controlled. And what that means is it tends to be appropriate for the age level of the children reading the readers. And it tends to be, words that they're going to know. Now, this should be the case always, but it isn't. And often you'll find in different reading methods that rather inappropriate words creep into the system. Another thing to note about the Fitzroy method is that all the stories are real stories. Now, sometimes they're very simple stories, short stories, but students do get the feeling that one page connects with the next in a meaningful way. And so at the end of the story, they feel that they've actually read a story or a book as opposed to just random pages, which are much less satisfying. Now, all the parts of the Fitzroy method stick together. We've got many different parts. We've got the readers, we've got the workbooks, we've got things like Fitzroy sounds, we've got the alphabet book, alphabetics game, many things, and they all work together bit by bit to help the reader advance. Now, the Fitzroy method is number coded. Remember, all that means is every reader has a number. The higher the number, the more difficult the reader. They're all color coded, so the readers come in sets of 10, so they're levels with 10 per set. Each level has a distinct color, and the associated word book naturally has that color too. All the new material in any reader is clearly listed, and this is very important because the new material of any reader needs to be taught before the reader's read. So it's nice to be able to find it. You can find it on the back cover and you can find it on the inside of the reader. Now, one place you can turn to find where all of the Fitzroy method, where all the new information comes in the Fitzroy method, is the master list, and this can be found in the teacher's guide. So this is basically a table, and it shows you just how structured the Fitzroy method is. You'll see exactly where every new sound is introduced, and you'll see where all of the special words are introduced. How old should you be to start the Fitzroy method? Well, as a rule, at least 3 years. It works very well 4 and 5 years up, but in many Asian countries in particular, parents are a little bit more ambitious, and so they begin their children a little bit earlier. Now, what exactly is a reader? It's quite a good question, isn't it? A reader is designed for reading, so it's designed to teach reading and writing. And the thing is, you've got to be particularly careful not to confuse it with storybooks. And storybooks are principally written, as a rule, just to entertain, or sometimes it could be to teach a moral or whatever, but they're very different from readers. They don't need to worry about language used. They're not trying to teach people to read. They can use any words they want. But a reader has a controlled vocabulary because it's specifically teaching reading, so you have to be very careful with a reader that the words used in it are at the appropriate level for the student. One thing which is important to the Fitzroy method is that students are really encouraged to read for life. What we mean by that is we want to instill a love of reading in the students so that, you know, after they leave the classroom, they're still going to want to read. So it's really a long-term project. One thing to remember is that reading is easier than writing. So it's natural for students to be better at reading, but what we don't want is for the gap to widen so much. And the best way to ensure that students can write as well as read well is by making sure that they do the workbooks. So get them to do the word skill books, and if they fill out all the questions and questions in it, then they'll find that their writing ability isn't too far behind their written. Now, just a few words on phonics. One thing which is really good about it is that the kids are able to decode words by themselves once they've learnt the phonics rules. So you're going to find that after you've started teaching them for a bit, children will naturally just look at a sign, maybe as you're driving past in a car or going for a walk, and they'll start to read it. They will pick up just simple books and they'll start to read the words in the books because they've been given the tools to decode. And this is great because it's self-empowering, and it also means that the teacher actually becomes less needed because the teacher's there to teach the rules in the first place, but after that the kids can read by themselves. Whereas if you're using, say, a whole language method, then the teacher's pretty well needed the whole time, because anytime a new word comes up, the teacher's needed to tell the children what it is. Whereas with phonics, if a new word comes up, there's a good chance that they're actually going to be able to decode it. And so what this means is you can often, if you've got a big class, divide it up. You can get certain students reading by themselves or doing other little bits of work in one half, and then you can be instructing the other half. And the thing is, the first half, which is working by themselves, well, they're going to be practicing their decoding skills using all the tools that you've taught them previously. Okay, so there's a really quick little summary of some of the main things to do with system and structure of the Fitzroy method. Hope it helps.